States.
We've heard reports that there have been attacks on farming communities. What exactly is happening there?
Thank you very much. Let me appreciate this opportunity given to me to bring to bear the situation in my constituency, Plateau North, and to say that as a legislator, I know very well that the Constitution has cut out our responsibility, which is making laws for the peace, order, and good government of the Federation or any part thereof. And when you talk of peace, it is a situation in my constituency that it has been affected negatively following massive malicious destruction of farmlands that has cut across 3 local governments, from Ladi to Riyom and to Bassa local government. The situation is such that in Riyom local government, about 10 villages, communities have been affected with a total number of 905 farms that have been maliciously destroyed, farm crops that are already grown, and about consisting of 420 hectares of grown farms. That is in Riyom local government. And the communities affected are Jol community, Kum village, Golhos, Rim community, Kui community, Biel village, Bangai village, Tahos community, and Riyan village, along with Priasa village. If you come to Bassa local government at the Irigwe chiefdom, in Che Tahu has been affected where 25 farms have been destroyed, consisting of 123 hectares of crops that were already grown. The local government that is least affected among the 3 is Ladi local government, where Shu community has been affected with 8 farms that have been destroyed with consisting of 6 hectares. So this is the situation concerning the massive destruction of crops on farms that are already grown, some nearing harvesting, that is now agitating the people, leading to massive, it is in a state of hysteria now, my constituency.
When you say maliciously destroyed, malicious destruction, could you explain what that means? Was it that, you know, probably the herders were just looking for grazing field for their, you know, cattle or cows, or is it that they just maliciously get machetes, like I read in some reports, and, you know, and start destroying farmland?
Well, we need to posit this within the proper perspective. The constituency has been for long the epicenter of violent attacks on communities, displacement of people from their ancestral homes, and leading to the occupation of the homelands that are so vacated or where people have been forcefully ejected. And the situation is such that there is an occupation of up to more than 1/3 of Ladi local government, and an occupation of another 1/3 of Riyom local government. And then we are having a situation in Bassa axis where Irigwe chiefdom is now also being under invasion for possible occupation, like has happened in Ladi and Riyom. So it is a situation where the land has attracted these herders, and instead of coming in to cohabit peacefully with their host community, as has been the case over the years, what has happened is that there was a ton of events where now the herders now want to take over the land for permanent occupation. And that's what has led to the violent attacks and displacement of these host communities, displaced from their ancestral homes, and the land is now under forceful occupation. Now, what has happened is that the host communities that have been displaced now want to get back to cultivate their farmlands, And it is this process of not wanting them to come back to their ancestral homes and wanting again to take additional territory that you find this new strategy, or what I would want to call it is a tactical terror on the community to make it unattractive and impossible for the people to come back to the farms. So as they cultivate the farms, you destroy the farms. And when you look at some of the things that have happened, some of the women have cried out, even widows who came to do their farms so that they can take care of themselves and their orphans. These farms are now massively and maliciously destroyed. What is the intent? It is to make it impossible for anyone to contemplate coming back, you know, to these ancestral homes and to cultivate their farmlands again, so that such a way that it becomes a territory that is permanently occupied, where the people there, the host community is completely and permanently displaced. So simply put, it is a land grab agenda where you grab land forcefully, you displace the people, and then you consolidate. Once you consolidate by permanently occupying the place, you move again. And this movement of acquiring additional territory is what is manifesting itself through this destruction of these farmlands.
You said it wasn't like this before, that these herders used to come and reside peacefully and graze their cattle in the territory, and there was no issue. But right now it's about occupation and taking over land. Are they the same herders that the communities have always known before, or are they different herders this time?
You see, the situation is, I grew up and found my parents cohabiting with some of these herders peacefully, but over time, the trend changed. And when the trend changed, the communities now came under attack. So we wanted to know what is the reason for these attacks. It is now established that it is simply to displace the host community and take over the land. So it has not been like that before. I would say that the land grab agenda came subsequently, and it is now it is now the issue.
Now, at what point did it change? Like, how long ago did this change?
Well,
start?
I told you that my constituency had been the epicenter of these violent attacks.
Since?
It's getting to 2 decades now.
No.
Okay.
It's getting to 2 decades now. And before then, it wasn't so.
So what has happened? What has the government of the day or the leadership in that region done, to which you're also one of them? What efforts have you people made to ensure that, you know, this peace is reestablished? Any effort at all?
I want to thank you for that. A lot of effort has been made to try to engage the people constructively, the host communities and the herders on many fronts. Not only these previous governments have done it, the present government in the state is doing it. We legislators, we are doing it, trying to engage the communities and for people to see reason why they must cohabit peacefully. But the more the engagement is done, the more we see these acts of criminality still going on. And that is where it is very disturbing. And how do you build confidence for people to come up again and say, we need to engage? So the engagement process has been hampered many times by non-compliance to the terms of agreement. And the more we meet, the more we see these attacks coming up. And this is a situation where the pursuit of this agenda of permanently displacing a people becomes very worrisome. And that's where the issue of government comes in. Like you already know, the primary purpose of government under the Constitution is to ensure, provide security for the people and the welfare of the people. But the situation in my constituency has proven otherwise. Because as we are speaking now, these people are in a state of, like I said, hysteria, because it is going to affect the agriculture and farming is their economic mainstay. And by this destruction of their farmlands, you can be sure that the next thing is to get them to starve. And that's another dimension of this agenda of land grab. You subject the people to economic strangulation in such a way that they do not have any means of livelihood. So it has been about life. Their lives are not secure. Now their livelihood is under attack. The remnant that is remaining in the land. So that is what is very, very disturbing.
So would I be right to say that the government and the people and the leadership of your senatorial district has failed the people? Actually, if the primary duty of government is to secure its people, and that is not happening at the moment, the people are living in danger, that means the government and the leadership has failed.
You see, like I said, we make laws for peace, order, and good government. And order requires that there must be law enforcement. And when law enforcement is not done or is done selectively, in a situation where you have some citizens are allowed to undertake acts of criminality, treating the lives of others, kill them at will, displace them from their ancestral homes, and forcefully occupy them in a situation where we have government. You cannot say that my people will not have, cannot be said that government has failed them.
So what you're suggesting is that there's some kind of collusion between the security agencies and forces in the state and these occupying persons.
Let me thank you for this. If you look at the process of enforcement of law, the enforcement of law is supposed to ensure that law-abiding citizens are protected. And then crime and criminality is confronted and combated frontally. What we have seen here is the situation in my constituency is that these people that continue to destroy farmlands, attack communities, they have been profiled and they are known. It's not as if they are unknown. They are known to the security agencies, whether it's DSS, it's police, the Operation Safe Haven, name it. These people are known. Now, if you now do not enforce the law on criminals, what you are creating is a state of impunity where some people are allowed to carry arms, attack communities, kill at will, and then when a community rises to resist such attacks, it is then that the enforcement is brought to bear. So you see selective enforcement of law. And like you look at it in these three local governments, you see in Riyom local government, it is like, Riyom local government has become like an ungoverned space. It's like an ungoverned space. If you look at the number of farmlands that have been destroyed, and over half of the local government under occupation, it's like an ungoverned space. The person that I would want to single out is the Operation Safe Haven commander that is in the sector in Biladi. He has done very well, and I want to commend him. You see, if you look at the level of farmland destruction between Biladi and Riyom, whereas in Riyom you have over 50 farmlands that have been destroyed. In Biladi, you have 2. So the man in Biladi is doing a job that we must commend him. We must commend him so that others like him can come out and that will enforce law without let or hindrance, and that will not take to sentiment in the process of enforcement of law. And to that extent, I want to commend Colonel Danjuma Abdul Salam, who is doing at least a good job in Biladi local government of Plateau State. Unlike what is happening in Riyom local government and in Mayango axis of Bassa local government. Those places, particularly Riyom, is like an ungoverned
What you are
space
telling us is almost similar to what we are hearing in some parts of southern Kaduna, in the Benue axis as well, where farming communities are saying that marauder herdsmen are sacking communities and sacking their farmlands and forcing them away from their lands and taking over their lands, occupying their lands according to the language which you are using. So that means it cuts across the entire sphere of the north central states of the country. This is not an isolated incident. So that takes me to my question. it requires an engagement at the federal level, isn't it? What kind of engagement is taking place at the federal level to deal with this kind of problem? You are a senator, and that's why this question is important. Are you engaging enough to address the problem? The federal government has come up with policies, such as the Ruga policy, which is abandoned. It's now coming up with the NLP, National Livestock Policy, asking states to provide land for ranches and all of that. I'm not really sure whether Plateau State was one of those states. Do you think that's a way forward to helping resolve this problem?
Let me thank you very much. Like you said, across the North Central states, the situation is not just only the North Central, but also we go to Northwest, same thing is happening. Whether you call them bandits or killer herdsmen, they are doing the same thing to host communities in the Northwest, just as is happening in the North Central. And like you said, to me, government has a responsibility, has a primary responsibility to secure citizens. And like in the National Assembly, on several occasions, we've taken this on the floor of for myself, on the floor of the Senate, along with many of my colleagues in host communities across the country where the similar situations are happening. And like you said, this process of engagement will continue, but government must take steps to secure citizens.
When we say government, please, could you be specific? Are we talking about the federal government or the state government? Which of the government is feeling the people here?
Under this situation, the entire security apparatus of the country, the power of coercion is vested in the federal government. And the federal government is the one that is in charge of all the security apparatus in this country, the security agencies. The state governments do not have capacity as at now. And that's why some of us have advocated strongly for the alteration of the Constitution to make for the establishment of state police. Because the security situation as we have found now in the country, the federal government is overwhelmed. And to that extent, it is better to equip the state governments to be in a position to tackle the security situation within their domains. And that is why we are advocating very strongly that the federal, the way it is now, it has not succeeded in providing security to the people. And if something has failed, you know, you cannot continue to do the same thing. You will only be reinforcing failure. That is why we are calling very strongly for the establishment of state police by altering the Constitution, which is ongoing, to empower states, you know, to effectively tackle the peculiar security situations within their jurisdictions.
All right.